So yeah, thanks everyone for joining in today. We've got some new faces, which is great. Today we'll be going through some of the movement standards. So basically the movement standards are a list of exercises that you need to be competent at performing for you for the practical stuff. So what we do is we facilitate those movement standards via 4 webinars. So they're broken up. We break it down even further to movement patterns. So there's 8 fundamental human movement patterns that underpin just about every movement. Sometimes it's a combination of movement patterns that make up a movement. So for example, like a clean and press, there's a pull and a press. So today we'll be going through all the core stuff. So essentially we're looking at rotation and a bend. So these movement patterns happen from the waist, essentially, which is why we refer it to the core being, I guess, the midsection. So when we talk about the core, basically the core is made up of 4, I guess, functional movements or 4 different areas. The major ones are abdominals. So abdominals work in 2 planes. There's upper abdominals, which help us bend over forward. There's lower abdominals, which bring the knees to the chest or leg raises. There's the obliques to the side, which are responsible for rotations and side bends. And then there's also the lower back. So the lower back helps us back extend and keep our posture upright. So when we're talking about the core, we're talking basically about all those areas. So abdominals, obliques, lower back. Yeah, 3. There's 3 major parts of the core. Okay. So today we'll be having a look at those. In particular, we'll be looking at the rotation and bend in a little bit more detail. So we'll just have a little bit of a chat around those movement patterns, and then we're going to do a bit of a workout, give you guys an opportunity to put it into practice. Okay. So yeah, rotation. So this is, I guess, the 7th movement in our 8 fundamental human movement patterns. It's unique from the other patterns because it happens from the plane, the sagittal plane. So that's in the middle of the body. Okay. So it also happens at a side to side as well. So rotation is sagittal plane, so that's rotation through the middle of the body, and then also is side to side. Okay. This movement is underrated. It's really important for a lot of sports. So transitioning any weight from your legs to your upper body, has to go through the core. So when we do anything like play, for example, basketball, transferring the weight from your legs up through the arms, it's really important to have a strong core. Just about every sort of sport or movement where it's full body will integrate the core in some aspect. So with the rotation, there's some key cues to look out for. So let's just have a look at the wood chop. So just when we're performing the wood chop, we just want to ensure that our feet are shoulder width apart, with hands out to front. So we usually have 2 views when we're doing an exercise. There's the frontal view, and then there's the view from the side. So looking from the front, we just want to ensure that our feet are shoulder width apart. We've got soft knees, and our shoulders are in alignment. Okay, so shoulders in alignment. And from the side, we want to make sure your shoulders are rotated back and down. You've got a nice curvature in the lower back, and you've got a nice natural curvature in the neck. Okay? All we're looking at is this rotation. Okay, essentially that's it. When we're doing a rotation or a wood chop, just remember the weight, wherever the weight is. So if we've got a band, the resistance is coming across the body, so we're working one side. However, if we were using something like a dumbbell, where the weight is centralized, we're working both sides. So just bear in mind when you're doing a rotation, if you're using a weight from one side, then you'll want to also change and do it from the other side, so you're working the other side, okay? Otherwise, we'll walk out of the gym lopsided like that. We don't want that happening. So those are some key cues to look out for. Some of the exercises, movement standards that we'll be covering in the rotation is the standing trunk rotations, lying trunk rotations, and the wood choppers. Spelling mistake there, we'll fix that up. That's all good. The second movement pattern is the bend. So this is also known as trunk flexion. So a crunch. So crunch is trunk flexion. Remember, when we're doing a bend, we are bending forward with the upper abdominals that are activating. Okay, so when we're doing a crunch, we're really only focusing on upper abdominals. Okay, if you want to work the lower abdominals, you're really looking at bringing the knees to the chest, doing leg raises. We also look at bend. We look at like side bend, so lateral flexion, so bending to the side. Okay, and then also back extension, so bending backwards. Okay, so we'll look at all those three exercises today. All good. So some of the key cues looking out for the crunch. So just make sure when you're doing a crunch, obviously you're going to be lying onto your back. Your knees are going to be bent. Your feet are going to be close to your glutes. And when we do a crunch, a good way to measure whether or not you're doing it consistently is you can just use your hands just to come over the knees. Okay. A lot of times people tend to do crunches where they're coming all the way up. What we're looking for, like when you do a crunch, you don't have to come all the way up. You want to keep the major muscle group constantly in tension. So you only come up, you only need to come up so you're actually activating the upper abdominals. Okay. Usually when you're coming all the way up, it gives your abdominals switch off, and it's an opportunity for you to rest really. So yeah, we'll be looking at that. Some of the movement standards that we'll be covering with the bend is abdominal crunches or curls, leg raises, lateral side bends, and back extensions.